Alright, members. Just gone 2:30. We have attained the quorum. I now call the meeting to order. Item number 1, confirmation of minutes of meeting. Minutes of the 17th meeting held on March the 17th. As of now, I have no proposed amendments to the minutes. Can I take the minutes as read? Okay, item 2, matters arising. Report on meeting with the CS. During the meeting, the CS presented an updated legislative program, and the paper was made available to members on the 21st of March with a CB2 1034/16 to 17. The CS made the point that he's instructed the Policy Bureau chiefs to do their advance consultative work regarding some of the bills in order to get member support. In particular, the bill relating to anti-money laundering and terrorism, the CS said that members would get on with the scrutiny as soon as possible so that Hong Kong can fulfill the responsibility under the international agreements. Business arising from previous council meetings. A. Legal Service Division reports on bills referred to the House in accordance with Rule 54(4). 1. Inland Revenue Amendment Number 2 Bill 2017. Legal Advisor, please. Thank you, Madam Chair. Please refer to LS 49/16 to 17. The purpose of the bill is to give effect to one of the tax concession proposals in the budget by giving profits tax concessions to qualifying aircraft lessors and qualifying aircraft leasing managers. And for the tax rate of the profits tax, it is 50% of the prevailing rate, i.e. 8.25%. On the 23rd of January, the EDP was consulted and members were supportive. We are still looking into the bill, and members were wish to set up a Bills Committee. Dr. Kwokaki proposes a Bills Committee. Any member wishing to join? There will be further circulation by the clerk to invite members. Next, Inland Revenue Amendment Bill 2017. Legal Advisor, please. Madam Chair, will members please refer to LS 47/16 to 17. Again, this bill seeks to give effect to proposals concerning tax concessions in the budget. They include extending the entitlement years for home loan interest deduction, widening the marginal bands for salaries tax, raising the deduction ceiling for self-education expenses. We do not detect any problems with the drafting. All right. Any proposal for a Bills Committee to look into this bill? Mr. Kenneth Leung proposes a Bills Committee. Any member wishing to join? Mr. Christopher Chung. Would the clerk please circulate further invitation? Third, Travel Industry Bill. Legal Advisor, please. Madam Chair, will members please refer to paper LS 48/16 to 17. This is to introduce a new regulatory framework. There will be a statutory body that will be set up, and that is the Travel Industry Authority, responsible for regulating and licensing travel agents, tourist guides and tour escorts. The existing travel agents ordinance will be repealed. On the 23rd of January, the administration consulted or briefed the EDP. Members were in support, although concerns were expressed regarding the regulation and so on. This is a new bill which is very long. Members may wish to set up a Bills Committee. Mr. Uchiwai proposes a Bills Committee. Ms. Tanya Chan would like to join. There will be further circulation. B. Legal Service Division report on subsidiary legislation gazetted on March the 17th and tabled in Council on March the 22nd. Legal advisor, please. Madam Chair, thank you. Will members please refer to paper LS 46/16 to 17. There are 3 items there. The first one is Pharmacy and Poisons Amendment number 2, Regulation 2017. This is to amend the principal legislation. The schedule. 5 substances are included so that there will be a restriction regarding the sale and supply and labeling and storage. This has come into operation on March the 17th, the day on which it was published in the Gazette. SC Subcommittee? No? Next, Legal Advisor. Thank you, Madam Chair. The next one is Designation of Libraries Amendment Order 2017. This is to repeal the existing designation of the first floor of the building known as Yunlong Government Offices, and to designate the ground floor and first floors of the Yunlong Leisure Cultural Building as a library. And this will come under the supervision of the Director of LCSD. This will come into effect on the 19th of June 2017. Subcommittee? No. The third one, Legal Advisor, please. Madam Chair, the third one is Smoking Public Health Designation of No Smoking Areas Amendment Notice 2017. This is to revise the schedule for 8 new PTFs to be designated as NSAs, no smoking areas, and to amend the extent of 10 NSAs already designated in PTFs, and to remove 9 PTFs from the schedule. According to the administration, this is just an updating exercise. This comes into operation on the 31st of July 2017. SC for the third one? No. Just a reminder that for those 3 items, the deadline for amendment is the 12th of April at the Council meeting. Next, item 4, further business for the Council meeting of March 29th, 2017, A, tabling of papers. Report number 14/16 to 17 of the House Committee on consideration of subsidiary legislation and other instruments. There are 5 items. The deadline of which will be 29th of March. The SMW and Employment number 9 notice, the Chairman of the subcommittee, Mr. Wilson Orr and Ms. Lau Xiu Lai, indicated their intention to speak on those 2 items. So the Chairman of the House will be moving a motion at that council meeting to take note of the instruments. B, questions. Mr. Porche and Mr. Holden Chow have replaced the original oral questions. Bill first reading and moving on second reading, Inland Revenue Amendment number 3, Bill 2017. We're going to deal with this on at the House Committee meeting on 7th of April. 5. Reports of the House Committee. Mr. Gary Chen. Madam Chair, the last term set up a committee to look into the bill, and we supported the second reading of the bill. There were other members, there were other issues to be dealt with, and we didn't have the second reading of the bill, and it elapsed as the Council prorogated, and the bill was actually similar to the previous one, but all the other issues have been incorporated. During the course of deliberation, members subscribed to the former BC's concern that the licensing board or the enforcement authority might face difficulties in enforcing certain provisions. The administration reiterated its undertaking formally made to the Bills Committee to monitor the implementation of the bill and, where necessary, propose amendments. The bill, once enacted, will be subject to review in 3 years' time. The SFH will give this undertaking during the resumption debate. Members also agreed with the concerns of the then Bills Committee that some of the requirements imposed by the Licensing Board and Administration are not subsidiary legislation and therefore not subject to electoral scrutiny. Those in breach will bear criminal liability. While members expressed concerns over the serious consequences of criminal liability, they were cognizant of the needs for criminal sanctions in order to achieve deterrent effects. Members considered that the court can play the gatekeeping role regarding the penalties. With this in mind, members adopted the former Bills Committee's approach by accepting the administration's proposal but suggesting that the Secretary elucidate Bills Committee's concern during the resumption debate. Also, in response to the views of the Bills Committee, the legal advisor, and the stakeholders, the administration, one of the suggestions is to the inclusion of a category called related person, such that those living with the deceased in the same household immediately before his or her death and for at least 2 years, they can claim the return of their ashes. As regards the priority of claims, the related person will be lower than the authorized representative, personal representative, or relative, but higher than the purchaser of the interment right. In this regard, Mr. Raymond Chan indicated that he might amend the definition of related person and the priority of claims. Dr. Fernando Cheung would like to move amendments for same-sex partner married at a place outside Hong Kong or in a civil partnership or civil union celebrated and contracted outside Hong Kong to claim the return of the ashes as a relative. The Bills Committee supports the resumption of second reading on April the 12th and 13th. A report will be submitted to members later. Thank you. Thanks very much. Just a reminder that for amendments to the bill, the deadline for notification is the 1st of April, or Saturday. B. Report of the Subcommittee on Air Pollution Control Vehicle Design Standards Emission Amendment Regulation 2017. Mr. Frankie Yip, Chairman of the Subcommittee, please. Madam Chair, the Air Pollution Control Vehicle Design Standards Emission Amendment Regulation 2017 seeks to tighten up in phases starting from the 1st of July 2017 the emission standards of specified newly registered vehicles from Euro 5 to Euro 6 and the emission standard for newly registered diesel private vehicles from Californian Level 2 to Level 3. The SC held 2 meetings. Members supported in principle tighter emission standards to improve roadside air quality. Some members, however, expressed concerns that in the market for Euro 6 vehicles, not least heavy-duty vehicles, the choice and supply remain insufficient. The prices remain on the high side. If Euro 6 standard is brought in too early, it would only add to the compliance costs when buying and replacing their vehicles. Also, the maintenance sector has not fully got the hang of the Euro 6 maintenance techniques. These members were of the view that the commencement date of the new emission standards for heavy-duty vehicles and private diesel vehicles should be put back.
After discussions with the subcommittee, the administration agreed to postpone the commencement date by 9 months to 1st of October 2018 of the Euro 6 standards for goods vehicles of design weight over 3.5 tons and buses of design weight over 9 tons. The commencement date for California LEV3 standards for diesel private vehicles will also be postponed for 3 months to 1st of October 2017. The administration apart from the implementation timetable, the subcommittee also discussed the emission standards for diesel private cars, comparison between the Euro 6 standards and California standards, training on vehicle repair skills, emission standards for cross-boundary vehicles, and the ex gratia payment amount for phasing out pre-Euro 4 diesel commercial vehicles. The subcommittee will not move any amendment to the subsidiary legislation. A written report will be submitted later. Thank you, Mr. Yik. I'd like to remind members, if you are to give, the deadline for amending the legislation will be on the 12th of March. If you are going to give notice for amendment, the deadline is the 5th of April. Item 6, position on bills, committees and subcommittees as of the 23rd of March, Thursday, 6 BCs, 13 subcommittees under HC, 5 subcommittees on policy issues under the House Committee are in action, and there are 6 subcommittees on policy issues on the waiting list. Item 7, that is proposal of the panel on commercial industry to nominate 2 members to attend the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies and the World Trade Organization Parliamentary Workshop 2017. I would now like to ask Mr. Wu Chi-wai to speak. Mr. Wu. Madam Chair, colleagues, the CIP proposes accepting the invitation by Rajaratnam School of International Studies and the World Trade Organization to nominate 2 legislators to participate in the World Trade Organization Parliamentarian Workshop 2017 organized by the 2 bodies above. The workshop will be held from the 15th to 17th of May in Singapore. The aim is to increase the capacity of regional legislators to engage in international trade issues. The details of the workshop are set out in the paper. Based on the CIP's decision, the Secretariat has issued a notice to invite interested legislators to take part. 2 members, including Mr. Alvin Yang and Dr. Edward Yiu, have indicated their interest to join. I would like to seek the HC's approval for Mr. Alvin Yang and Dr. Edward Yiu to take part in the workshop, and the relevant expenditures will be charged to the 2 members' overseas duty visits accounts. Thank you, Mr. Wu. On paragraph 3, do you have any views approving Mr. Alvin Yang and Dr. Edward Yiu for joining the workshop? No comment. All right. Item 8, AOB, proposes to seek the HC's agreement for asking urgent oral questions at the Council meeting of the 29th of March 2017 on issues relating to problematic frozen and chilled meat and poultry meat imported from Brazil. We have received the request from 3 members, Dr. Elizabeth Quat, paper number CB bracket 260167, 1670 bracket 01, another letter from Professor Henri Joseph Lee, paper number CB 21067, 1617 bracket 02, another letter from Mr. Yip Kin Yuen, which has just been tabled. So I'll ask each member to speak. Each will speak for 2 minutes. Thank you, Dr. Quat. We know that the Brazilian factories have added in carcinogenic chemicals to their meat, which has become rotten. And the Center for Food Safety on the 21st of March has announced that there would be the suspension of the import of meat from Brazil. But then the messages are very confusing to us, and many members of the public are worried whether the food they have on hand is edible and whether the restaurants can sell these meat or not. So a lot of the importers and retailers have been affected, and some of the meat is on its way to Hong Kong, and some others are in the warehouses in Hong Kong. And a lot of people think that the government should give clear messages to members of the public and allay our worries. And also the importers and the merchants can know exactly what to do. So I think the oral urgent question is needed, because we need to know the government's immediate measures to help with the problem and to prevent members of the public from buying and eating this kind of carcinogenic meat. We need immediate information from the administration for the trade as well, so that they know exactly how to deal with the meat. Well, some of them told us that, well, not all of the Brazilian meat is problematic, so the administration should come up with immediately messages. So if there is meat which is not problematic, then please say so. And if there is problematic meat, should all these be removed from the shell and should not be sold? So the messages now are very unclear, and it is affecting people's everyday life. So I think there is indeed a need to ask this oral urgent question. So I'll first ask the three members to speak in this. Who wish to speak on the subject, please press the button. Next one, Professor Joseph Lee. Madam Chair, this Brazilian frozen meat incident has a great impact on the world supply of meat. And Brazilian is a major producer of meat. And in the past several days, Hong Kong has been affected tremendously. Well, the impact is not just limited to what's been mentioned by Dr. Kwok. From the food safety perspective, I think we should be given more information to allay our worries. The frozen meat suppliers and the retailers are affected, and also the SME restaurants are also affected. Well, the government is not doing well in this crisis management measure, is giving out information in drips and drabs, has been too slow in responding to the issue, and it cannot reinstill confidence in the members of the public towards Brazilian meat, and the sector finds the messages confusing, and they don't know what to do in terms of selling the meat and so on. So because the impact is so great, I think the government must respond immediately, and we need to ask this urgent question in the upcoming meeting. Mr. Yip Kin Yun, I think the two members have just explained how serious the problem is. From the food safety perspective, we think that all Hong Kong people are very concerned. I must point out that all members of the public, well, and also some of them are students. They are having meals within the schools, and primary school is now a full-day school, and some secondary schools are also offering full-day classes as well. So primary and secondary school students, when they have their lunch, do they have a problem? So I believe that parents are very concerned and worried as well. So I think the government must give a clean account of the matter immediately, and how the supplier situation is like, whether we are under any threat, and whether there is any random checking, and whether there are any concrete measures to prevent students being threatened in terms of food safety. I've also received some inquiries from school principals, and they passed on their concerns to me, and I hope that the government can explain clearly the situation to members of the public. So three members would like to speak: Kenneth Leung, Helena Wong, and Wong Kwok Kin. For time's sake, and also Dr. Enjang, I'll draw a line here. Dr. Kenneth Leung, Mr. Kenneth Leung, 1 minute, please. Madam Chair, this question is not just about supermarkets and frozen meat companies removing the products from the shelf. Well, the working class every day would patronize fast food chains and other restaurants, and much of the meat comes from the Latin American countries, including Brazil, and that include frozen, chilled meat, and canned meat. So there are so many different kinds of meat that we are eating every day. So how are SMEs procuring the meat, and how do they differentiate between problematic and non-problematic meat? So I think the government should be more transparent and give out the clear messages to the public, so that we know exactly what to do and we eat in a smart way. Dr. Helena Wong, I have also an urgent oral question, and that has to do with the Brazilian meat as well. I want to raise it at the full sitting. I support this urgent question. I am the chair of the Food Safety and Environmental Hygiene Panel. I called up the secretary. He refused to answer me. And I called up the other person in charge, and he refused to answer me as well. So how are we going to follow up on this? There will be a special meeting on the 8th of April to discuss this. We can't wait for 2 weeks. So I'm all for having this discussed at the next Wednesday's meeting. And we see the crux of the matter is that lies in the health certificates from the exporting countries. But then there is corruption in Brazil, and the health certificates are not credible. The labels can be changed easily. So your time's up, Mr. Wong Kwok Kin. Madam Chair, there are 5 days before next Wednesday. While things are evolving rapidly, I agree with what others say. The information is insufficient. The government has not been transparent enough. And I think it's too late to have this discussed next Wednesday. Things are evolving really quickly. I think the Food Safety and Environmental Hygiene Panel can call an urgent meeting to ask the government to give an account immediately. And also maybe, alternatively, the different political parties can meet with the administration and ask for a reply from them. I don't think there's much point in having this discussed only next Wednesday. Of course, I won't object to it. Both the pan-democratic and the pro-establishment camp members have asked for this. I believe that this urgent question request will be endorsed. Well, your time's up. My information shows that on the 8th of April, a Saturday, 9 to 11:30 p.m., that will be discussed at the Food Safety Panel. Dr. N. Zhang. Hong Kong is a major market for Brazilian meat and poultry meat, and we eat a lot of Brazilian meat and poultry meat. So it's just understandable that we're worried. But then the government is taking an across-the-board approach and suspend immediately the import of Brazilian products and meat. Well, that is to take care of food safety for Hong Kong. But then importers have faced dire difficulties. Some of the containers have already reached the piers, and many others are on the way to Hong Kong. So if the government takes a cross-the-board approach, the importers will suffer huge losses. So whether it's members of the public and the importers, they are feeling helpless. So I support this urgent oral question being asked at the full sitting. Mr. Leung Chi-chang, I support the urgent oral questions be asked. The government on this incident seems to be acting rather unsightly on this. And you are banning the import, but not banning the consumption. And the goods are not going to be removed from the shelves. And what Dr. N. Zhang said is true. The importers don't know what to do, and they are suffering tremendous losses. So I think there is a need to raise an urgent oral question. While I agree with Mr. Wong Kwok Kin that we should discuss this even earlier, the panel should hold this meeting as soon as possible. Mr. Tommy Zhang. Madam Chair, there's some problem with the information dissemination, and that's because the Brazilian government hasn't given enough information to the SARG government. Privately, I've met with the Brazilian Consul General in Hong Kong, and I know that there are going to be meetings between them and the SARG. Once the information has been available, I'm sure the SARG will tell us the same. They are not removing all the products from the shelf is because they don't know which batches come with problems. If all the goods are removed from the shelf, then it's going to be problematic. But if they're not removed, then it's also problematic. I think the government will give us information as soon as they can. They will not wait for a few days. I don't see a need for this urgent oral question on Wednesday. Once the government's got the information, I'm sure they will disseminate the same. In accordance with the ROP, the President will rule on whether this is needed based on the pressing nature of the issue and also whether there is public interest. I will jot down all the points you've made, and I've passed on the points to the President for his decision. In the interest of time, I think we should discuss it any further if there is no AOB meeting adjourned.